Ma'am, I have a question for you. I was curious, as an individual, what kind of cyber law protection we should be aware of regarding cyber security and cyber issues.
As being a digital citizen, we are accessing technology as well as data. So, it is very important to protect our IT infrastructure and data protection. So, in cyber law, there are few sections which stands and gives you protection. Section 43. What section 43 says about penalty, compensation for damages to computer, computer system, computer network, and the most important, computer contaminant. Whenever any person in a charge of your computer, network or your data, it is their duty to protect computer, system, network and the data. And if by any chance, ignorantly, negligently, he failed to protect your computer system, network and damage to your system or become a victim of any cyber issue, then the person will get relief under section 43. So, most important section in cyber law is section 43. Second question is very important to understand, that if we become a victim of any cyber issue, how we can protect ourselves. In cyber law, section 65 and 66 stands for. Section 65 gives you idea about how we can understand and represent the offences under cyber law. And the most important, for unauthorized access, for hacking, for downloading, for unauthorized copying. If any person became a victim of any cyber issue, cyber crime or cyber attack, he can get a relief under section 66. So, in cyber law, there are two sections which plays very important role, and that is section 43 and section 66.
My question is for sir, what measures can we take so that we cannot fall a prey to cyber crimes as an individual and also as an organization?
When we are talking on an individual level as well as an organization level, there are different set of measures which should be taken. For an individual, you will be using social media accounts, you will be handling so many digital assets. Make sure you don't share your credentials with anyone. Sharing your credentials will leave you to fall prey to various cyber crimes, or let's say cyber activities. Let's say you are an individual and you are using multiple social media accounts. Try to keep separate social media passwords. Try to maintain the data confidentiality by storing your data in encrypted storages. Try to keep those storages, try to keep a backup of those storages. These are the very basic measures which as an individual you can take to protect your data. Now, whether an individual or an organization, you just have to follow three simple steps, or let's say three pillars of cyber security: confidentiality, integrity and availability. Make sure your data is confidential. Make sure you maintain the integrity of your data. Make sure your data is always available to you. These three things form the pillars of cyber security. Now, coming to the organization, whatever measures you took as an individual are not sufficient in case of an organization. There is a requirement of a firewall, there is a requirement of a wireless we can say router security. Multiple things come into the picture when we talk about organizational architecture. So, I think when you are considering working in an organization, there are a basic set of protocols which need to be followed. There is a security policy which needs to be implemented, which needs to be studied and which needs to be followed by all the employees of the company. So, this is how you can have security for individual as well as an organization.
Here I would like to tell one important aspect for cyber security and its implementation, which is most time overlooked, and the most important part I would like to mention here is the outsourcing IT services or getting solutions on the basis of outsourcing material. So, I have seen most of the organizations purchase software having data centers, those who are on cloud base. So, most of the time many organizations missed the boundaries for implementation, which is internal and externals. So, if they are not able to track it well, they become a victim of some issues around their organization. So, while implementing security aspects, they need to also secure their outsourcing process along with agreement and documentation.
Even if you are an individual or you are an organization who have implemented security on a very higher level, still we get cases saying that we fell prey to some kind of cyber attack. Why is this so? Because let's say you are living in your house, the same old example again, you are living in your house, you are putting a lock to the house, you do not change your lock for 10 to 15 years. What happens is your lock becomes outdated. You need to upgrade your security with the technology. Today you are using a lock, after 10-15 months, or let's say for 2 years, let's say the lock technology changes, you need to upgrade with the technology. Upgrade your security with the ongoing technology and it will help enhance your security.
Ma'am, I have a question for you. We commonly see these links on all websites: cookie policy, privacy policy, terms and conditions. What is the significance, as generally netizens just browse and leave? Is it necessary to read it?
Yes, it is necessary to read it. While developing website and while developing applications, the developer needs to understand the data which they are accessing through their portal, through their website, that has to be secured. And whatever the information security program they have established for making available their services through their website and application, that has to be covered under Information Technology Act section 2 of intermediaries. So in IT Act there is a protection for the website holder as well as accessor under section 2 of Information Technology Act. So it is very important to have a policy on their website. It is necessary. If you do not have a policy on your portal, that means you are not protecting the right and title interest of the accessor, of the customer or the visitor, those who access your portal, your website or your application. So it is very important to establish those policy on their website or their application. The second important part I would like to tell here, if while providing the services through their website like online payment services, ticketing services, bus passes, cinema tickets, those who wants just to make available their services through the application, they need to consider the rights of the consumer, the rights of the visitor, and that could be covered under consumer privacy policy, and that has to be disclosed 24/7 on their websites. If the person become a victim of any cyber issue while using their services through their portal, then it is duty of the website holder or the owner to protect and interest of that consumer or that visitor. So it is very important to have that policy. It is very important to read all the rules and regulations as well as their infrastructure and their service maintenance related policy which they have disclosed on their portal. If it is found that you have not read it and if you ignore it and if you complain afterwards, that complaint will not be entertained most of the time because they have disclosed their policy, their procedure and their data protection process on their portal. So do not ignore it, read it carefully and follow it well.
So just to add one more point to this thing, we all use endless applications every day. So we download the applications, we scroll down, click on I agree and we just use the application. I would request that at least once you go through a few points which are written. Those points are written to protect you as well as the developer of that application. See, the thing is, the people who are involved in an application are the developers, the owners and the users. So all the three people should be protected in the IT infrastructure or the IT ecosystem, and that is why it is important to protect each and everyone's rights. So what does those things say? Let us say the developer has put in his hard work and he has developed an application. Tomorrow a hacker comes and hacks the application. He creates a dummy and he starts selling on his own. So there should be a right or there should be a legal notice or legal policy which is protecting that application against infringement. To protect that, there is a policy. Now let's say you are the user, you are falling prey to some cyber crime. So there should be some law to protect you against that cyber crime, and there is the owner of the application who has fallen prey to cyber crime. So protect the owner, there is a cyber law. So these are the different laws and the policies which have come in the protection of interest of all the people who are involved in an application.
Yeah, I am totally agree with Mandar. I have seen in many websites and portal or applications, they access your sensitive personal data, likewise matrimonial websites, some educational institute or some other organizations, those who deal with your account. So while accessing those applications, we need to understand what kind of data has been accessed by that application. Most of the time we have using lot of application where you want to call a cab, call a food. If they have your data, they need to protect it well. So you also need to know whether they will access your location, whether they will use your IME number, whether they will look in your data, whether they will access your camera, whether they will access any kind of your data, likewise contact list or other. So it is very important to understand what kind of access or what kind of cookie policy they have established. So it is really must to understand while accessing, and it is very important to take precautions while sharing your data on such applications and portals.
So, I have a question for you. Does login and log out from the application on daily basis matters? What if we need that application every day?
So your question depends on what application you are using and how frequently you are using it. Let's consider there are different categories of application. If you are using a banking application, which is, let's say, a very critical application, your login and log out matter a lot, because you have opened that application in a web browser. There are other web browser tabs which can get access to your bank account browser. The reason is there are various attacks where one web browser tab can take access of another web browser tab. So it is very important for you to log out immediately after your work is done. Then there are social media accounts. Now every day putting the same login information for the same social media accounts, let's say 10 times a day, because that's how frequently we are using the applications, right? So using this, putting so many passwords multiple times a day will cause mess to your usage, or let's say it will be inconvenient for you to use these applications. So the criticality of the application decides how important it is for the login and logout to be used.
I would like to suggest one point here again, that we should have a app lock. While accessing bank application for your banking transactions, you should have a app lock systems you need to establish in your device. If your device is stolen by someone else or unauthorizedly accessed by someone else, how you can prevent and protect your data and access? So it is very important to understand the browser history, and you need to clear it up well, because your family members or your close one also can access your application and access your data without your knowledge. So it is very important, unlock it, use it, again lock it and then use it.
My question is for you, ma'am. So we have all heard about life insurance, but is there any insurance in cyber security?
Yes, very good questions. Nowadays cyber fraud insurance plays very important role for protecting their rights, their reputational damage, as well as their financial loss. So I have seen in many organizations people are preferring to secure their IT infrastructure, their IT assets, and they want to control or get relief from their human errors. Okay, if they want to protect their reputational damage, if they want to protect themselves for financial losses, any organizations or every organization, I must say, it is said by a lot of judges and through various judgment passed by Indian law that cyber fraud insurance has to be in a place to ensure yourself and assure your customer that their data is fully protected, and if they become a victim of any financial activity or any financial fraud, they can recover their money and they can get a relief through the cyber fraud insurance policy. So my opinion is cyber fraud insurance policy is important, it is essential, and I must say it is compulsory.
An interesting fact about this thing is, till today we were saying that our let's say our assets are our money. We have one car, we have a value. Today the most important asset in our life is our data, and till today whatever we lost, our car got crashed, we had car insurance. Today in this let's say in this era, if your data is lost, you lose some part of your life. So it is important to have cyber insurance to ensure the security of your data.
And I have seen in many matters, nobody insure human error or employee error, but yes, cyber fraud insurance given you the protection on human error and employee negligence.
Sir, I was confused between the terms authentication and authorization. Please can you tell the difference between these?
This is a question which most of the individuals face. What is authentication and authorization? Most of the people use these terms interchangeably. Are they the same? So I'll give you a very simple example. Authentication means who you are, whereas authorization is what access you have. Let's say you're getting into a house, you're going to a house. So the person who is the owner of the house will ask you, who are you? That is the authentication. Whereas if you are one of the member of the house, once you get into the house, you will get a particular access, you get a particular right to that house. Similarly, in the accounts, when you enter your login ID and password, the authentication is done to check if you are the user who is allowed to be inside. We say authentic user, which means you are a person who is allowed to be in, whereas we say you are authorized to do this particular activity, which means you are getting the rights to do that particular activity. Hence, authentication is who you are and authorization is what access you have.
Yes, rightly said Mr. Mandar. I would like to add one important aspect of authentication and authorization here. While accessing your bank account and while conducting online transaction, authentication plays very important role. You know, in various banking standard course practice, I have seen that they have established 3-factor authentications. Why they have established 3-factor authentication? To reduce risk. So it is very important to establish 3-factor authentications for giving you 3 level of security for your access management. So if they want to control or prevent cyber issue or unauthorized access, any organizations or every banking transaction need to have a 3-layer or 3-factor authentication to reduce risk of authorizations and getting good access or secure access to the account holder or the accessor. So it's very important to establish 3-factor authentication for all your access management plan.
Wow, what a splendid exchange of ideas this was. As all things have to conclude, we must come to the end of this show. But as they say, an end is only the beginning in disguise. Beginning into this safe journey into the digital world, having abundance of elixir of knowledge, but a word of caution to beware. The cyber predators are hiding in plain sight, lurking to exploit you at every point. But as we now are armed with the right cyber security posture and all the laws that are supporting, we can now focus on building a safe future for our nation. I hope to see you all soon. Thank you.